There it is. Arizona State wins the Big 12 championship 45-19. Welcome to College Football Addiction. I think we've done a fairly good job of covering the Big 12 this year and trying to show some love outside of just the SEC and the Big 10, just calamity that is sports coverage. So if you've appreciated that at all, and you'd be willing to hit the subscribe button, we certainly would appreciate it. But a great game from Arizona State, 45-19, maybe not as close as maybe not even that close, right? This was a game that Kenny Dillingham, if he wanted to, probably could have scored 60. Just big shout out to the Sun Devils. Iowa State, man, came out really strong. I want to give them some flowers just for the work they did to get there. This was an onslaught by Kenny Dillingham's team and by the Sun Devils. And so nothing taken away from Iowa State's season. I think they ran into a buzzsaw today. I don't know how many people in Ames, Iowa or that support that program are watching this. I know you're probably heartbroken. You thought you had a chance to get to the playoff. A really good year and a low expectation type year from other people, maybe nationally. Maybe thinking that you were a dark horse. You did end up living up to that role. A hat tip to Iowa State. Wasn't your day. On another day, maybe would have been a little bit different. But a good first drive from Arizona State. They did have to settle for 3. Iowa State scores quickly to take the lead, and you kind of think like, we've got a barn burner here. Arizona State answers, then Iowa State answers back with a field goal, and it's 10-10. And I think everybody in that moment's thinking, oh boy, this is about to be the best game of the day. Unfortunately, for us and for Iowa State, it really wasn't. From there, it was pretty much just an absolute rout, an onslaught, a 35-0 run from Arizona State at that point. And the game that I thought we were about to get, that 10-10, everybody's moving the ball, we get some stops, we get some defense, it quickly goes away from that. A 75-yard drive and then a 74-yard drive in the half for Arizona State. I thought it was huge for them to go up 24-10. I wouldn't say that it felt over there, but it just felt like Arizona State was clicking a little bit better than Iowa State was, and you really needed to see Iowa State come out in the third quarter because they got the ball first and make quick adjustments. Come out and quickly get back into it. For this to have been a competitive second half, I think Iowa State needed to come out and score on their opening drive, make it 24-17, had to be a touchdown because the way that Arizona State was moving the ball, there was no chance that Iowa State was going to get back into it with field goals. Obviously, that didn't happen. They didn't score on their first drive. In fact, the third quarter was just the absolute third quarter from hell, and they had 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and an interception in that third quarter that basically ended the game. The fourth quarter was completely irrelevant. Nothing of consequence happened except for a bad targeting call, which I thought was really, really bad. We got to review this. We got to get, they do review it. They just still don't know their, butt from a hole in the ground to make it PG in case your kids are listening. But the thought that, I don't know. I could whine and moan and complain about this all day. The fact that a kid has to sit out the first half of a playoff game for something that's certainly not malicious by any means, didn't look super aggressive, didn't look dirty at all. I just don't love that. I thought the quarterback kind of lowered and turned into the hit. I thought he was coming at him straight up, trying to not hit him low. I don't know. That's my take on it. I'm a little bit of a Kenny Dillingham homer, so maybe that's my bias is judging it. But I don't know. The kid sitting out at the first half of a playoff game now is kind of asinine to me. Leavitt, 12 for 17, 219, 3 touchdowns. Scatabo on the ground, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, over 10 yards a carry on the ground. I think he just broke another tackle as you're watching this right now. Leavitt also ran for 33 and a touchdown. A couple of touchdowns for the receivers that obviously they were missing a big piece. Stovall had 91 yards, the 63-yard long bomb too. Scatabo, 38 yards. He went over 200 total yards and had 3 touchdowns. Shout out Kenny Dillingham, man. Like, this isn't a deep dive on the stats and all that stuff, but obviously Arizona State dominated statistically in this game, and that's why the score was what it was. But a big shout out to Kenny Dillingham. To go from their record last year and the sanctions and the bowl stuff and just all that crap, right? Like, they were close against Colorado last year. They had some chances in some games. But to go from their record last year to now 11-2 and into the college football playoff, Big 12 champions, no one picked them. Last place in the Big 12. Like, that's insane, right? Like, the whole, we love the underdog. We love the story of an underdog. We love the idea of the little guy getting a chance to win. And Kenny Dillingham embodies that so well. A guy who did all the right things at Florida State, obviously was very instrumental in what he did with Jordan Travis, and then obviously went to Oregon and got to be part of that program that was in the midst of turning things around and being a very good program, and now lands at his dream job, at the place that he would rather be over anything, right? Like, I don't ever see Kenny Dillingham leaving that role. It is the stuff that dreams are made of. Like, it is Disney movie type stuff, right? Now, it's not an SEC program, so they probably won't make a movie about it, but it is Disney movie type stuff to see him living out the dream. And what is the momentum now around Arizona State? We talked with Drake C. Toll of Locked On Big 12 about this last week. Does Arizona State maybe have some of that staying power now? Can the big city of Phoenix, that they're obviously very close, can that attract enough recruits to get that thing kind of rolling in the Big 12, which at this moment seems pretty wide open for the next several years? I think you look at what they did down the stretch, the win at Kansas State, the win against BYU, where they were obviously even in that game, BYU will come in and beat them at home, and then to go on the road and dominate your rivals. They were dominant down the stretch. They did everything they needed to do. People were looking at them like, well, if they do win out, they could get in, but we don't really expect that to happen. I even said that. Florida State fans asked me, can Dilly get in? And I'm like, well, he'd have to win out. Not very likely. They need Colorado. They did it. They did all the things they needed to do. And shout out to them for getting it done. I thought they represented the Big 12 very well today. For somebody that I don't need a pat on the back. I don't need any Big 12 fans. TJ, thanks so much. But I do think that the Big 12 was wildly entertaining this year. It was one of the more fun conferences to watch. I do think that they represented the conference very, very well. As somebody who watched the Big 12 week in and week out, I think a lot of people maybe watched today's game that hadn't seen the Big 12 all year, hadn't seen the style of football that had been played. Big 12 fans, let me know what you think. BYU fans, Colorado fans, Arizona State, like whoever you cheer for, right? Utah, I know you're in here now. Oklahoma State, the teams that have been here for a while. I thought they represented the Big 12 really well today. I thought they played physical. I thought they played hard. Nobody doesn't enjoy watching Cam Scatterbo run the ball. Nobody doesn't enjoy Dillingham throwing it up on a 4th and inches to get them down into scoring range and then end up punching it in. Who doesn't enjoy that tough-nosed, we're going to grind it out, we're going to go for it type football? And I thought that was really, really impressive. They not only mixed really good offense with great defense there after those first couple of drives. They adjusted very well. Matt Campbell talked about that coming out of halftime, how the chess match was what it was. And Dilly coached his absolute tail off. And I have got a lot of respect for Matt Campbell. He's done a great job there at Iowa State. His prowess is certainly one of the better coaches there in the conference. His name comes up from time to time when other jobs come open. But I think Dilly absolutely coached circles around him. Here's the big takeaway for me today. I think that Arizona State, and I'd love to get your comments on this. I'd love to get your thoughts on this, whether you think I'm right, wrong, an idiot, whatever. I'm good with all that. I think Arizona State showed today that they're probably a top 4 seed. I think they showed they deserve a top 4 seed in this playoff. Everybody had kind of written off the Big 12 and said, they're just going to get the 12 seed. They're just going to get that last seed, have to go to play the 5, and if they can win, they have to go play the 5, and yeah, they're just in trouble. No, I don't think so. I think they deserve a top 4 seed. And there's 2 ways, obviously, they can get that. One is if Clemson wins, then obviously I think Clemson gets the final seed in the entire thing. I think they're 12th, behind even Alabama, because 3 losses. I don't think they would move Alabama to the 12, but that's something they maybe should do. We'll talk about that in a minute. If it is, if they're going to put Boise up there at the top. Also, I just think that second way, obviously Clemson wins, they'll get a top 4 seed. Second, I think the committee could just use a little bit of logic, a little bit of common sense. I saw Pate comment this on Twitter. There's no chance that watching the game last night, watching Arizona State this last month or so, that you don't think Arizona State's a better team than Boise State. And if our job is to put the best teams in and to seed them on their worthiness, which again, how much does that matter? How much does that mean? I don't know. That's, there's obviously many debates you could have about the way the playoffs should be shaken out, but there's no logical world that anybody lives in that says that Arizona State's not playing better football right now. It's not more deserving of a top 4 seed than Boise State. Obviously, Boise State looked really good last night. We picked them yesterday. I thought UNLV would keep it closer than they did. They didn't. I was wrong about the spread, right about the line. But I think I'd put Arizona State ahead of them in this. Even if they don't, though, did Arizona State show you enough today to put them ahead of Bama? To put Arizona State up into that 11 spot and Bama down into 12? As a 11-2 conference champion, are they not more impressive than 9-3 Alabama, who just got throttled at home on the road who just got throttled on the road at Oklahoma, 6-6, and then obviously lost to 6-6 Vandy as well. Kenny Dillingham was asked about the college football playoff seeding and said last year they kept Florida State out because their quarterback didn't play. He said, we're 11-1 when Sam Leavitt plays. We should be treated like we're 11-1 Big 12 champs. If that's the case, and that's the way you view them, I don't know how they're not a top 4 seed. And if you don't want to give them a top 4 seed, I do think they deserve the 11 spot. What would that do? Well, that would have your, SEC, Big 10, ACC, and then Boise State as your top 4, and have Arizona State as the 11 seed, and it would bump Bama down to 12. Something that no one has really talked about. Shout out Kurt Weiler of the Osceola, part of the Rivals Network. I saw him mention that on Twitter, but I think that's a pretty good point too. There's no reason that you wouldn't put Arizona State above Bama, in my opinion. Bama's sitting at home doing nothing right now, going to sneak their way into the back door if things go down like we think they will. If SMU ends up winning tonight, maybe if SMU ends up losing, they knock SMU out and Bama's still in. But either way, should Arizona State be ahead of Alabama at this point? I think so. I think they've shown it. They've proven it on the field. I think we have to give precedence to conference champions. And so for me, I would not have Arizona State as the 12th seed. You want to put Boise State there? I could agree with that. I'm fine with that. I'd have them behind Alabama. That'd be fine. But I'd have Arizona State not in the 12th seed right now. I think they deserve that. I think they've earned that. I think the way they played today should be respected. They played a very quality opponent in Iowa State. Wasn't Iowa State's day. Wasn't the Cyclones' day. Sucks for them. Brutal to run into that kind of buzzsaw. But Arizona State absolutely deserves it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Again, a wildly fun game. I'll probably do this for all 4 conference champions. We'll see kind of how games end, when they end, when stuff's over. Want to watch all the competition. I want to see everything. So maybe we do it for the night games. Maybe we don't. Depends on how close they are, how relevant they are. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Again, if you've appreciated any of the Big 12 coverage, or you're an Arizona State fan, or you just like Kenny Dillingham, whatever, hit the subscribe button for us. It certainly helps us here at College Football Addiction. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Enjoy the rest of the football today. This has been a fun day so far, and I think it's just going to get better. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon on College Football Addiction.